Hey, welcome to lesson number 3 on synthetic division. Synthetic division it's pretty easy to grasp, and it's nice because it usually takes a lot less time than long division when we're dividing polynomials. So let's look at this first one that I already did beforehand, but I got a phone call in the video, and so it stopped recording. But I have the polynomial. I have the dividend of 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 8x plus 15, and I'm divided by x minus 1. So the way I would set this up is I would drop all the variables and I'd bring down the coefficients. And so notice how I bring down positive 2, negative 3, negative 8, and positive 15. And the next thing I do is if I have x minus 1, that becomes x plus 1. And so I drop the negative and it becomes positive. The first thing you do is drop the 2. So drop whatever number is in the front. You drop it down and then you multiply 1 and 2, or whatever your first values. So 1 times 2 is equal to 2, and then this row and this row we add the coefficients together. So negative 3 plus 2, I'm left with negative 1. Positive 1 times negative 1, I get negative 1 again. Negative 8 times, or plus negative 1, we end up with negative 9. Positive 1 times negative 9, I get negative 9. 15 plus negative 9, we get 6. What we're left with, though, 6 is going to be the remainder. 2 it corresponds to 2x squared. Negative 1 corresponds to negative x. And negative 9 is going to be the constant term of just negative 9. And so if we were to write this in the form p over d is equal to q plus r over d, then remember p is the product of the quotient and my remainder. And so it becomes my quotient 2x squared minus x minus 9 plus my remainder divided by my divisor of x minus 1. Alright, so I'm going to skip example number 2, and you guys can do that yourselves, but I'm going to move forward to class example number 3 here. Alright, so if x plus 3 is divisor in the following synthetic division, calculate the values of m and p. Alright, so if I'm working with x plus 3, then I have negative 3 on the outside because I'm working with the zeros of x plus 3. So we drop the 2, negative 3 times 2, we're going to get negative 6. 2 plus negative 6, we're going to end up with negative 4. Negative 3 and negative 4 is going to be positive 12. And now we're working with an algebraic expression here, where I have negative m plus 12 is equal to 2m. And so I can solve for m easily here. If I bring this m to the other side, I'm going to be left with m is equal to 3m, and m is equal to 4. That means that n, if m is equal to 4, then 2m is equal to 8. Since m is equal to 4, 2 times m is equal to 8. So if I have negative 3 times 2m, negative 3 times 8, n is equal to negative 24. And p is also equal, well, p is equal to negative 8. Now p is equal to negative 8 because I'm going p is equal to 16 plus negative 24. P simplifies to negative 8. And so I'll simplify it with saying m is equal to m is equal to 4 and p is equal to negative 8. We weren't looking for the value of n, so these would be my final answers. Alright, last couple examples here. Let's look at when 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 8x plus 3 is divided by x plus 2, the remainder is 3. Determine the value of a. Alright, so I'm just going to get you started on how to set up this question, and then I'll let you do it yourself. But remember, we're dropping all the variables, and so I'm going to have 2 negative 4, and I'll have plus a, and I'll have 3. And since I'm working with x plus 2, that becomes x minus 2. And we're looking for the value of a. And we also know that the remainder is going to be 3. So if you start out like this, there should be enough information for you to get started. All you're going to need to do is multiply, add, carry down, multiply, add, carry down, and then you'll have your value of a to solve for. Okay, let's look at these last examples. If I have synthetic division in the form of ax minus b, where a is going to be a coefficient. So before, what we're seeing is values like this, x plus 2, where there's no coefficient in front of our x term. And so this changes the synthetic division a little bit. Now, they started off for us a bit. So use synthetic division to determine the quotient and remainder when the polynomial 2x cubed plus x squared plus 5x minus 1 is divided by 2x minus 1. So there's the ax minus b. And note that 2x minus 1, we can factor the 2 out and we'll be left with x minus 1/2. So the first thing we're going to do is we first divide by x minus 1/2, and if it's negative 1/2, that means we're dividing by positive 1/2. And we start the exact same way. We drop down the 2, and we carry out with our multiplication and addition of our coefficients. So 1/2 times 2 gives us 1. And we add those together. Again, we're left with 1. 1/2 times 2 is again equal to 1. 5 plus 1, we end up with 6. 6 times 1/2 is equal to 3. And we have a remainder of 2. And so this is going to correspond to 2x squared plus 2x plus 6 with a remainder of 2. And that's what we've been shown over here, where I have 2x squared plus 2x plus 6 plus 2, and it's being multiplied by x minus 1/2. The next thing we do is we factor out the 2. So we bring the 2 out of all 3 of these terms, and it goes right here. And I'm left with x squared plus x plus 3. And the last thing we did, notice how we ended up with x minus 1/2 times 2, and we ended up with 2x minus 1. What we did was we multiplied the 2 back into this expression. So 2 times x gives us 2x. 2 times negative 1/2 gives us negative 1. That means we're left with x squared plus x plus 3 plus 2 still. So our quotient then is going to be x squared plus x plus 3, and our remainder is going to be 2. So let's look at this last example here. We're dividing 6x cubed minus 8x squared minus 5x plus 5 by 3x plus 2. And so I'm just going to show you how to start this out. If I'm working with 3x plus 2, then that means I'll be dividing by negative 2 over 3. And then everything over here, remember, it follows the same rules, and we just drop the variables. All right, and so the first thing we got to do is drop that 6 down, and then we have to multiply everything by 2/3, well, negative 2/3. So I'm going to end up with negative 4 here, and I'm going to have to add these terms. Negative 8 and negative 4 will give us negative 12. Negative 2/3 and negative 12 will give us positive 8. Negative 5 and negative 8, or negative 5 plus 8, we're going to end up with positive 3. Negative 2/3 times 3, we're going to end up with negative 2, and we'll end up with a remainder of 3. And remember that we're not done at this point yet, though. We want it in the form of P is equal to D times Q plus R. So I'm just going to leave P like as my product, but my divisor then that we were just working with was X plus 2 over 3, and that's not what we want it to be, right? We want to have our original divisor that we were working with. And so what we got was 6x squared minus 12x plus 3 plus 3. And what we want to do here is multiply the common factor out. In this case, it's going to be 3. So P is going to be equal to x plus 2 over 3 times 3, 2x squared minus 4x plus 1 plus 3. And I'm going to bring this 3 back in to both places. I'm going to be left with 3x plus 2 times 2x squared minus 4x plus 1 plus 3. So that's my D, my Q, and my remainder.